All right, here we go. Simulcasting once again, live on YouTube, recording for the podcast. This one is definitely going to go past midnight. It's, 9 minutes until Wednesday morning. Here on Tuesday night, we just saw the Sharks take care of the Avs in Game 3, 4-2 the final. And, yeah, Logan Couture's hat trick, that's definitely going to be discussed here. Also, of note, you think about the Avs. They had not lost a game at Pepsi Center, 8 tries in a row, dating back to mid-March, right? This is the last day of April. We're going into May in just 9 minutes. Well, 7 minutes now. But the Avs had not lost at home in a very long time. So that streak is over. The Sharks finally getting out to a series lead, right? That's not something that happened in round one. They took game one. They lost the next 3. It was a lot of comeback and chasing from behind. And now here in round 2, yeah, it's so much easier if you can get ahead in games and obviously ahead in this series. I don't want to sit here and say that overall this is a cakewalk round. It is not. The Avs are very formidable. I think they still have tons left to show you in this series. Their power play did not capitalize tonight. 0 for 4 were both teams, but I mean, you understand how fast they have the ability to transition in a game, in a period, and in a series. So not talking about anything for sure for San Jose yet, but you definitely have to like the trends that we're seeing so far. I thought Game 1 was a pretty convincing 5-2 win. The first 20 of Game 2 were also convincing. And then the Avs made their adjustments. They struck, and they turned the course of that game. Tonight, let's not forget, it was a 2-0 San Jose lead that was relinquished. The Avs got the next 2 going into the third period. And if it wasn't for Logan Couture getting the final 2, we wouldn't be talking about this victory. As for Logan Couture, we had this stat on television a few times. I'm going to say it here too because it is unbelievable when you soak this in. Since the playoffs of 2010, right? The Stanley Cup playoffs of 2010, that was Logan Couture's first season in the NHL. You look at goals scored by individual players. Alexander Ovechkin has 50. That's Ovi, right? 50 goals since the start of the 2010 playoffs. Behind him is now Logan Couture at 43. And Logan Couture tonight with the Hattie, his third was the empty netter. He passed Sidney Crosby, who has 42 goals in the playoffs since 2010. Obviously, Sid has some cups too. And so does Ovi. And so does the guy behind Sid. That's Patrick Kane. He's at 41 goals in the playoffs since 2010. It really is an amazing feat of Logan, who, of course, you remember as the leading goal scorer and point getter for San Jose in their Stanley Cup final run of a couple seasons ago. Couture is really coming up big here for San Jose. And, you know, what's crazy about it is that he gets goals 7, 8, and 9 on the playoffs tonight. But entering this series, or entering tonight, he didn't have a goal in this series. And according to some of the interviews that he did this morning, it was a lot of talk about his motivation to chip in on the score sheet. Yeah, he did that in a large way for San Jose in this game. On that note, his first goal was so fitting because the Sharks really had every opportunity in the first frame to get a goal. They just couldn't do it. They were on the power play twice, had some great chances there. They had also, to my count, hit 2 posts. Brent Burns and Kevin LeBanc had both hit the pipe before Logan Couture was able to bury one backhand on a second chance rebound. That was at 15:24 of the first period. So awfully late, right? The first half of the first period had the frustration factor. You were getting to Grubauer, you were controlling the puck, you were getting the chances you wanted. You just couldn't bury them. So Logan scored there, and then I thought Timo's goal with 1 minute and 18 seconds left was also huge. Number 28 caught him on kind of a bad change. He was one of the leaders tonight for San Jose in shots on goal at 5, he and Evander Kane, but he gets his third goal of the postseason, just like that, going into recess, 2-0 San Jose. Now, I thought actually the Avs' best sequence of this contest, round 2, game 3, was actually about a 6 to 8 minute span in the second period. And coincidentally, late second period, that was a time where Evander Kane had a one-on-none that he couldn't bury. And then Alex Kerfoot goes in the box, 2 minutes for the interference, the pick he set on Marcus Sorensen. The Sharks on that power play, and this is definitely going to be a topic we'll get into later, 0 for 4 tonight, but no shots on goal on this particular 2-minute man advantage. And then, 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes to Kerfoot going in the box. What do the Avs do? They make San Jose pay on a turnover. Ian Cole picks it up. He gets it up to Nate McKinnon. McKinnon fires off a beautiful wrister. By the way, McKinnon now has points in every single Avs postseason game this series. Actually, I take it back, 7-game point streak. They played 5 in round 1. 3 games here so far in round 2. So he has a 7-game point streak. 7 out of 8 games he's scored or a point for Colorado. And just like that, it's 2-1, which was a little bit too close for comfort. And we'll obviously get to the Matt Nieto factor in just a second. But it felt like at that point, 2-0 after 20, may have felt like the Sharks got a little bit of icing on their cake. 2-0's nice. It may have been more reflective of a 1-0 period. But by the time it was a 2-1 game, the Sharks could have had 3 goals. Because I think by that point, Vlasic had also hit a post. And then later on, Melker Karlsson in the game hit a post. So the chances were coming. It probably should have been 3-1, but instead it's that 1-goal advantage for San Jose, which ultimately goes away when the Long Beach native, yes, I'm obligated to say it, and the former Shark Matt Nieto gets his 2nd goal in as many games and his 4th of these playoffs already. It's crazy, right? To think about Matt Nieto, who had only 4 goals this past entire regular season. And now, in less than 10 games of these playoffs, he's already got 4 goals for the Avs. Coming up clutch. And hats off to him because he was a good teammate in San Jose. Players liked him. Hard worker. Just didn't work out here. And he got the opportunity in Denver. And a couple seasons later, clearly he's factoring in for the Avs. He tipped that Sammy Girard shot. So now, this is in the 3rd period, by the way. It's a 2-2 game. And at this point, the Sharks had missed out on power play opportunities. And like I said, even more posts. And you could kind of feel that frustration mounting. And I'm not sure if it was mounting on the bench, but those of us with no control on the game, just watching, it had an empty feeling. You felt like the Sharks deserved more. Well, they got more from Logan Couture, who scored 1 minute and 5 seconds after Matt Nieto equalized the game. Logan untied it. And then it's crazy because 39 is in the box for tripping with less than 3 minutes to play. So unfortunate for the Sharks that they would have to spend some time on the kill in a 1-goal game. Obviously, you'd think about, too, the Avs pulling their goalie, getting that opportunity. So they got the kill. Avs pull Grubauer. And out of all people, so rewarding for Logan Couture, he's able to bury the empty netter. 9th goal in the playoffs. First Stanley Cup playoff hat trick for a Shark since our good friend and now colleague Devin Setaguchi did that against the Wings in 2011. So a pretty simple game to digest on the score sheet. Sharks get the first 2. Avs get the next 2. San Jose gets the final 2. And you do have to feel, like I said, not arrogant at all, but confident about the 2-1 series lead. I also have the mentality, I've always had this, in any best-of-7 Stanley Cup playoff matchup, Game 4s, imperative. They're always going to give you, at the end of Game 4, a tremendous indication of the series. Because there's only 3 different outcomes after Game 4. One team has swept. It's 2-2. It's anybody's series, and now it's simply a best of 3. Or, in the Sharks' case, they can go up 3-1 if they are to win on Thursday night in Denver. Now, 3-1, that's where you can maybe feel a bit more confident. Not arrogant, but more confident about this series, especially because it would head back to San Jose with the opportunity to close it out. So again, Game 4s, to me, always decisive in a best of 7. That is still going to be decided before the Sharks come home. We do know that there is going to be a Game 5 in San Jose. A couple other things I wrote down here. I still think Martin Jones is on the same role that he started back in Game 5 of Round 1. Remember, he got pulled twice before that, and there was all that question, would Pete DeBoer even start him in Game 5, or would it be Aaron Dell? All Jones has done since then is win 5, win 6, win 7, win 1. The Sharks and Jones lost Game 2 of this round. I don't think they looked bad. There's a whole other YouTube video on it, by the way. Sharks gave up 4. Jones was only in net for 3. One of them was after a controversial icing call. If you take one away, then you're getting back to the 2 number. Oh, how could I forget this? I buried the lead on this video. What are the Sharks now? 37-0 when they allow 2 or fewer this season? Yeah, tonight's game included 4-2. There you go. It's a magic recipe for success. Is it always going to work? I don't know. It has in 37 tries this season. But part of it, right, is that the Sharks usually score enough. They usually give enough run support to their goalie and their defense. So if they are only going to allow 2, they're generally going to get more than those 2. It's been danger. They've put this streak in danger recently a couple times, but in tonight's case, it worked out again. So again, just going back to Jones and team defense, I don't know that the Avs particularly tested Jones in an amazing way. I think they had great chances. They had grade A chances. I think Jones made some tremendous stops. And I think, like I said, he is on the same role that he was on at the end of last round. And even despite a loss in between there, it's still the same quality Jones that we're seeing. Other thing to think about now is the Sharks as a team are on a roll. They had a 4-game win streak that was snapped on Sunday, but now they've won 5 of their last 6 playoff games. And imagine this contrast, or not imagine it, but let that contrast sink in for just a second. These are the Sharks who, after losing games 2, 3, and 4 against Las Vegas, I mean, confidence levels in a bunch of areas were not high, especially without the puck, especially early in periods. Remember that problem? Really was amazing to think about that side by side with where this team stands right now, and hopefully where they're still headed moving forward. The power play for San Jose. It got 4 opportunities, 2 times in the first, 2 times in the second period, didn't capitalize. Now, both clubs had the same amount of man advantage time, and it respectively washed itself out because nobody got a power play goal. But if you're the Sharks, and you think about, I believe they're now 9 for 42 on the power play here in the playoffs so far. And 4 of those came on one single 5-minute major, right, in Game 7. It's not a good result right now that they're getting 5-on-4. And I think that it goes back to the criticisms of too pretty, not shooting enough. On the one power play that stood out to me, the one where after the Avs killed it, McKinnon scored. I mean, it was a case of not even getting a shot on goal or even a good look in those 2 minutes. In fact, the Avs might have gained some steam being short a guy. So I think it really has to be a focal point, right? Like, Sharks aren't playing bad. There's a couple areas to definitely talk about and consider, but the power play is going to have to start making more of a difference, I think, for San Jose, especially with the players on it. And that brings me to the thought and the commentary about Joe Pavelski. I don't want to dismiss his absence right now. Sharks are playing well without him. That's tremendous that they're doing this in this series without their captain, without their leading goal scorer of the 82-game regular season. Would Pavelski help on the power play? Absolutely. Would Pavelski help all those Burns and Karlsson shots that are getting through? Absolutely. So let's not forget that is something the Sharks are missing here in round 2. Pavelski and Donskoy, by the way, did not travel to Denver. So clearly not involved in tonight's Game 3. And unless something dramatic changes, not going to be involved in Game 4 either. I don't see how that happens. Something could change, maybe even for Donskoy specifically. But by the way, it was good to see Melker Karlsson back in there tonight after the injury he suffered. Got hit in the corner. Looked like his right shoulder was just dangling after absorbing that one, but he was back in there tonight. So again, in a lot of ways, a close game, a frustrating game at points, but it turns out the right way after a full 60 minutes. And I feel like, again, the Sharks had leads in this game. They could have enjoyed greater leads than the way the scoreboard looked at times. But, things ultimately worked out. I'll take a quick scan here through the questions and comments on YouTube. If you are listening to the podcast only, bear with me for a couple seconds. How about this thought, by the way? 6 playoff wins for the Sharks. You need 16 to win the Stanley Cup. So 6 down and 10 to go. I'm going to probably not come back to that comment. I'm just going to leave that one alone for right now, because I was reminiscing a little bit earlier today about just the 2016 year of going to the final. Certainly not winning it didn't leave a great taste in anybody's mouth, but you really do realize what a long journey it is to get to round 4. Here we are. The Sharks are halfway through the wins they'd need just to get halfway to the Stanley Cup final, or to win the Cup, I should say, right? But it's crazy to put that into perspective of how long this journey needs to be to win it all. Round 1 felt like a million storylines. Round 1 felt like 14 games instead of just 7. It would be very beneficial if the Sharks could get through this round without losing a lot more manpower and also being efficient in winning this series. I'm trying to use my words carefully here. Comment from Jerry F. Jones, the beast has awoken. Yeah, I mean, I definitely say that Martin Jones, the team defense, all the things we've talked about all season long are holding true right now. The Sharks are going to go as far as their defense, goaltending included, can take them. JP9987 saying, can't give up 2-0 leads in playoff games. Hope the Sharks learn from this. I'll take the win regardless. And I agree. That being said, the Avs are good. You knew they were going to make a push. This is not to discount Colorado. They're one of the last 8 teams remaining right now. And maybe it's a bit of a surprise that Calgary's not here. And I think Calgary, just matchup-wise, would have been tougher on San Jose. But this is where we're at, and this is what the Sharks are up against. Everybody's talking about round 3 already in the Western Conference Final. I'm not going there in the comments section. I'm not ready for that yet. I think there's a lot to be said and decided in this series. You can clearly see that Jared Bednar, their head coach, is going so heavy on their top line. And no surprise, that's what they have to do. Sometimes that line is separated. Sometimes they're put back together. But it's just it's a matter of depth. And I think you're seeing right now that the Sharks have it. Even when the Avs have last change, San Jose can still dictate matchups here, or dictate outcomes. JP9987 again saying, watching from Brooklyn, New York. I appreciate that, because in New York right now, it is 3:10 in the morning. Ayush, I believe that's how I'm saying your name correctly. I hope it is. Cooch is so underrated, as in Logan Couture, so underrated. I mean, I would have to necessarily agree. You guys know, especially if you go to LoganCoutureFanClub.com, yes, that will take you directly to a subscription on my YouTube channel. I've always liked him. I've known since pretty much the first game I ever watched him play in the NHL that he had something extra. He had some extra instincts, spirit, competitive nature. You can just tell. You could always tell, in my opinion. And I know it's well documented. I'm a huge fanboy, but I think nights like tonight, and let's be honest, Game 7 of round 1, of those 4 comeback goals, who got the first and who got 2 of the 4? Number 39. So there you go. Oh, Kadoji, watching from Brazil, 4:11 right now in South America, the country of Brazil. That is fantastic. I appreciate that. Angelo saying, do you think the thinner air will weigh harder on the Sharks this stretch? We talked to Timo Meier in our post-game show. He flat out said, you know what? It's not a big deal. We're professional athletes. We condition for this. And tonight, I don't think there were some points where the Sharks got stuck out on the ice. Obviously, Brent Burns was part of the too many men penalty. He was out there too long, tried to get back to the bench. Wasn't necessarily his fault based on not getting the puck into the offensive zone that it came back out. But long story short, yeah, I think in small ways it factors, but I don't know that tonight it was a game-deciding factor. Clearly, because the Sharks won. Watching from Vancouver, Andrew, I appreciate that. Marcos talking about the altitude, getting to the Sharks in the second. No, again, I don't know that Game 4 is going to be any different, especially now spending some time on Monday in Denver, Tuesday for the game, Wednesday for the off day, and then Thursday for Game 4. Christine commenting on Mr. Meier's interview with us on television. Timo looking so professional in that interview. I agree. And he's a guy, I like his style. I've always liked Timo's style. He's Swiss, right? So number one, he's going to bring it. But the slick hair, the fresh pressed suit, the great commentary too. He speaks well. He speaks way older and way more mature than his age. And not to suggest he's immature in any way. He plays like a veteran out there. But I'm just saying it's so refreshing to see a young guy like 28 be surrounded with so many veterans, so many professional veterans like are on the Sharks. He's learning from them. He's benefiting from them. And I can't wait. I hope this offseason, he's going to be a restricted free agent. I hope it's a handsome reward for Timo Meier because he has definitely deserved it. All right, I am 22 and a half minutes into this YouTube stream and into this podcast. The voice is fading a little bit. I have some uploading to do. So again, I want to cut this off right here and make it short, sweet, and sharp. I really appreciate you listening and watching. Hit me up on Twitter with some comments about what you like in these commentaries, what you want more of. Also on Instagram, I've been working really hard there to give you some of the best entertaining content that I can. Obviously, if you're listening on the podcast, I appreciate that. Hopefully you're subscribing. Same thing here on the YouTube channel. And again, in the very near future, I promise, I'm going to tease this continuously, I will get to that personal recount of round 1, Game 7. I still have so much to say and document in an upcoming YouTube video. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be one of the first to be able to see that and enjoy it. Until next time, I'm Brody Brazil, and yes, that is my real name. And if you're still watching on the YouTube video, like the last time I did this, I said that because that was the ending of the podcast. I cut it right there. As for the YouTube, I will end that right now. Again, thank you guys all for sticking up late and watching this. If you're streaming it live, if you're seeing it on Wednesday or even on Thursday before the game, thanks for finding this. Come back again soon. I really do appreciate it. Good night from the home studio.